Havoc.
News, interviews, and more.
We just reek of Huntsville Havoc hockey.
It is finally Hocktober here at the Reekin Havoc podcast, and we're just over 2 weeks from preseason action. I'm Tim Lambert, and for this episode, Laura Pitts has brand new assistant coach and video coach Chris Blaisuis in the slot. Later on, we'll have another of Huntsville's greatest hits to revisit, along with the latest team news. Stick around, the Reekin Havoc podcast will be right back.
The Reekin Havoc podcast.
One of the worst feelings you can have is that of being stranded. Well, BT's towing, tire, and truck repair makes that a thing of the past, with 24/7 towing services and roadside assistance in the northern Alabama and southern Tennessee areas. But that's not all. They also offer truck and trailer repair, mobile welding, brake service and repair, new and used tires, and other major and minor repairs. Their name says it all, BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair. For 24/7 response, call 497-8234. That's 497-8234. BT's Towing, Tire, and Truck Repair.
Athens Utilities comprises Athens Electric, Athens Gas, and Athens Water Services. Together, we are committed to providing reliable and affordable electricity, natural gas, and water and wastewater services. We operate as part of the City of Athens, and just like our city's motto of Athens is classic, Southern, character, we believe in supporting what makes our community special. Call 233-8750, come by our office at 508 South Jefferson Street, or look for the link online at athensal.us.
Got something to say? Put it on a t-shirt, or hoodie, or apron, or even an iPhone case. Just go to daddyoscustomtees.com and make it happen. Look through their selection of ready-made designs, or make one of your own. Check out their special hockey designs, too. With Daddy O's Custom Tees, you can truly have it your way. Look for Daddy O's Custom Tees on Facebook, follow them on Twitter or Instagram, or go online to daddyoscustomtees.com. That's DADDYOS Custom TEES.com. Daddy O's Custom Tees. They've got your back or front.
Let's go in the slot.
Welcome back, hockey fans, for another Reekin Havoc podcast. We're in the slot this week with a new assistant coach and video coach for the Huntsville Havoc. We're joined today by Chris Blaisuis, new to the pack, and we are here and ready to hear a little bit about him. Chris, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So you are brand new to the pack, but you're not brand new to hockey. You've got a pretty illustrious hockey career. You've done a lot of different things. What are your thoughts and feelings just right now being a part of the Havoc team so far?
Grateful to be here. Super excited to get down here and looking forward to getting the season started, working with Stu, Ty, Glenn, the whole organization. And, know they came up, game short last year in the finals and looking to hopefully get across the finish line this year and bring the President's Cup back to Huntsville.
That's what we're all hoping for, and we're all itching away for hockey season to start. We've had a few different things with the Havoc, jersey reveal night, and then they've got fan appreciation night coming up, and then before we know it, we'll be right back into the rink and everything. Before coming on board, what were your kind of thoughts in general about the Havoc organization? I mean, you were a head coach at the Bobcats in Vermilion County for a short time period. So you did see us a little bit, but tell us a little bit about kind of your thoughts coming in.
Yeah, I mean, conversations kind of started in the summertime with Stu. I was in Jacksonville last year, and you kind of go through these, your interview processes. You're trying to, find your next spot and grow. And, just as the summer went along, Stu and I were just talking, and for me, I wanted to be in a good spot. Like I was in a really good spot last year in Jacksonville, and I had familiarity with the league, being in Vermilion County. We came down here when I was the head coach there, and I'm a little familiar with. I've been to Huntsville before, so I know it's a great city. And Huntsville's always been kind of that gold standard franchise in the league. I had other options within the league that I passed up. I was like, if I was going to come, to the SPHL again, I wanted it to be here because of the organization and the way they do things. And just where I was last year, Jacksonville's kind of that franchise in the ECHL. They do everything right. They have the best facilities, the best resources. And you want to come where, from my standpoint as a coach, you want to come somewhere where you have all that at your disposal, but also where you can kind of grow and learn. And as Stu and I spent a fair amount of the summer talking, you realize, hey, this can work. Like we see a lot of things the same way. They were excited to try to get me here, and I wanted to be here. So it just kind of fell into place like early August when I just was, after interviewing some other jobs in some other leagues, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to come in here and settle in and bring value, help them as, learn from them as much as they can learn from me, and just, be the best version of myself here, but also, just come here in a great spot and hopefully have a great season.
Did you have any reservations though, coming back into the SPHL? I mean, I'm sure that the experience you had before, hit or miss, so to speak, in that situation. And so then you're out and then you're, coming back in.
I had no reservations about coming here. So that was the thing. Like I was very comfortable coming. If I was going to come back to the SPHL, I was going to be here. Like I said, I interviewed for a couple other jobs in the league, and there's some red flags that come up and some things you're not maybe used to. And like I said, having been to being in Vermilion County, everybody knows what happened there. I don't need to rehash that, but like you just get, even in Vermilion, you travel to other cities and other facilities, and you learn some of the other organizations. And to me, just in my time in hockey, like Huntsville it's a sterling reputation. So like for me, like there were no reservations about coming here. So once I made that kind of personal decision and that career decision, okay, I'm done kind of chasing ECHL jobs or American League video jobs. Like I just want to come in here and learn and come in every morning and do a good job and just continue to grow as a coach. I had zero reservations about coming here. So like, and people look at it. I've had friends of mine in hockey, even friends of mine in hockey say, hey, you went to the right spot. Like if you had to go back to that league, you're in the perfect spot. And that's how I feel.
Awesome. Well, we feel that way about our Havoc organization too. Yep. So I think everybody kind of echoes that at different places. So before I get into you kind of explaining what you're going to be doing and telling us what a video coordinator or coach does, give me and the fans a little rundown on who you are. Where are you from? How did you end up in this process, in this league, just so to speak?
I have kind of a unique little journey. So I'm originally from outside New York City. I grew up in Long Island, New York. Played hockey as a kid, played some junior hockey. I chased that pro playing dream. Went to a couple ECHL training camps, played some exhibition games. Wasn't good enough, between that and a couple injuries. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't good enough to play, have a sustained pro career. And I pivoted out of that. And when I stopped chasing that dream, I'd already been married for a couple of years, and I was an on-ice official. I was an ice official in junior and college and pro, and chased that for a while. I did that for a long time. I've always been connected to the game. And then while I was officiating, I worked in junior hockey as I did a little bit of an assistant coach role. I did a lot of player personnel, a lot of scouting, a lot of hockey operations stuff for a long time. Had a lot of success with that. I was, my two most successful stops were. I was in USHL for a couple of years and took a team that won 11 games, helped flip it around with, we won 30 games out of the playoffs. That team had a lot of good players on them, a couple first round NHL draft picks. And then I was in Fairbanks, Alaska for 6 years. Like I worked remotely. I lived in Indianapolis. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana in the off season. That's kind of my home base. And I did a lot of my scouting work and all my player personnel work based in Indiana because, from a cost wise, it's just, you can't travel from Fairbanks and just keep scouting. So we were basically stationed in our home cities, whether we had a guy in Minnesota, myself in Indiana, a guy out west. We did all the scouting, recruiting, and we had a great 6-year run. We won 3 national championships. And so I've always been connected to the game. And then it was about that 2015, 2016 time I wanted to coach. My background is I'm a flight paramedic. I worked 20 years in emergency medicine while I was doing the hockey. So I got a real life job. I got a career job as well. And around 2015, 2015, I was like, I want to get back into coaching. I want to, and I did it for a couple of years at the junior level. I had kids that were younger and they were getting older, and you're like, man, I'm away from home a lot. Because my family didn't come with me. I always left and came back. And so then I stayed at home from 2019 to 2022. I worked with the local youth program that's run by the Indy Fuel and the ECHL. So I had some connections there with the pro team. But, had a good run doing the youth stuff. And I was like, I felt, through COVID, working as a critical care paramedic, you start to look at yourself like, is this what I want the next 20 years of my life to be in healthcare? I'd already been in it for, 17 years. And I just felt like I had more to give to the game. And so that's when I started pursuing coaching. Like I was like, I'm going back into coaching full time. And I walked away from I haven't walked fully away from my healthcare career. I'm still connected to it. I still have all my licenses and stuff, but I was going back into coaching full time. And I ended up in Cody, Wyoming in the spring of 2022, took a job in the NA3HL and started there. It was, had a good group of kids and there were some things going on within the organization. And then a friend of mine took over running Vermilion County and was like, hey, I need your help here. Like he's like, it's a mess. Like I need you here helping me. And we go back a long ways. A player that I actually coached when I was in USHL. So the timing kind of landed right in a sense of like where I was able to like walk away from the junior job, and I walked into Vermilion County and wasn't even the head coach originally in Vermilion County. I showed up as kind of a medical liaison, assistant coach. That lasted all 7 days. And then they made a coaching change and I was the head coach. And I realized through that, like, for all the stuff that went on there, and it's funny because Glenn and I were having this conversation last week when I got down here. It's like for all the stuff that went on there, I learned I wanted to coach professional hockey. Like I'd always been a junior hockey guy. And I learned that I was like, I really want to coach professional hockey. I like being around. It's their job. Like they show up every day. It's their job. And they're older. You can connect with them a little bit better. And, I was only there for 3.5 months, but I learned a lot about myself and I was like, well, here's what I want to do. And of course, Vermilion went under. And then, so you're trying to find another job. And I went through a lot of interviews and I was blessed to land in Jacksonville last year. It was a great setup, a great situation. I got hired really late. And I found in Jacksonville, like we had a really good year. It didn't end the way we wanted to. We lost in the first round of the playoffs. We were up against Florida 3-1 and lost in 7 games. And there was some organizational change. Like my boss actually got a job in the American Hockey League and my president, moved on to some other things. So, I just learned I wanted to be in pro hockey. But that was a kind of unique journey whereas I've worked in the real world, so to say, and hockey's been the side gig. And now, in my 40s, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like I've just, like I said, COVID kind of opened my eyes to that stuff. Working in healthcare during COVID, you kind of, me and a lot of people I worked with kind of realized this is not what I want the next 20 years of my life to be. And a lot of us are doing things we want to do. I have one of the nurses I worked with open up a small business. Like she opened up her boutique. Like I'm chasing hockey. We've all kind of done that. And, it's a grind, but I'm way happier doing this than.
Isn't that interesting how life just throws these, we call them curveballs, but sometimes they're really, the blessing in disguise of getting called to Vermilion. You've got 3 months there and you're like, oh, actually, you know what? This is all a dumpster fire falling apart, but I know exactly what I want to do when it comes out of it. Like I have had those moments too, where everything's kind of not what I thought it would be, but I internally realized, wait a second, this is really what I feel like my calling is and what I really want my purpose to be.
Yeah, I felt like when I coach in junior hockey, like you're dealing with kids, and you get to help shape them, you get to teach them how to be a man, kind of a thing. And there's a lot of that, but the junior game has changed so much in the last 10 years. It was almost not enjoyable. Like you're dealing with so many outside factors. Whereas in Vermilion, like we had a ton of things going on or like around, but that was a good group of guys. And like for me, I always look back on my time in Vermilion. Like we did a lot of good things. Like I felt like we brought a lot of credibility, in my time there. Like we made a couple roster moves, and I would look at I remember sitting in Cody, Wyoming when I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this, and researching the Vermilion County Bobcats. I didn't even know they existed. Like that, when I was in junior hockey, I really was disconnected from pro. Like outside of being an NHL fan, and like, tracking my former players who've gone on to play pro hockey, I was really disconnected to the pro game. And I remember seeing some of the box scores from Vermilion. I was thinking, okay, like, wow, like 8-0, 10-1. You're like, and then you get in there. And when I showed up, it was everything like I had researched. It was like, I said to my friend, I'm like, hey, are we going to be able to fix this? He's like, we're going to do it together. And we did a lot of good things. And I guess I remember we came here right night before New Year's Eve. And it's funny, Ty Paisantini and I were talking about that game because he remembers it. Because Vermilion was a joke. Like, Vermilion was like, hey, everyone's going to get their goals. It was, it's an easy win. And we lost 2-1 that night here. And Ty's like, it was one of the hardest games we played all year. Like, I just remember thinking to myself, how much that Vermilion has changed in a short time. And so I look back on that. Like, I learned a ton as a coach. I learned a ton about it myself as a coach, as a person. But I look back, I'm really proud of what we did there. Like my athletic trainers got hired by the Anaheim Ducks. Like, it was an entry level for a lot of us to kind of get our feet wet, maybe learn through some mistakes that weren't put on blast, because it was so much, you kind of grow and learn. Yeah. And you learn like, hey, this is what I want to do. And Glenn and I were talking about it last week as far as like the investment of time and the sacrifice you have to make. Like nobody's getting rich doing this. Like you're not making a ton of money, and you have it like kind of like the players. You don't make a ton of money, but you're chasing a dream. You're living out a dream
Yeah.
that you want to pursue. And, to do that, you have to sacrifice some things. So that's kind of like my journey. And it's, I feel like I'm in the early chapters of that. So.
Well, and it's interesting too that even with what happened with Vermilion, falling apart, there was still good that came out of it for so many people that it catapulted a career. It took them somewhere different. It was at least something on a resume that stood true and helped them go. So that's a wonderful, a feel good story out of such a crazy situation.
I don't get hired in Jacksonville last year without Vermilion County on my resume. Like I don't land in the ECHL without that pro hockey experience.
Yeah.
My junior resume would not have been enough to get that. Because when I was in Jacksonville, like my title was video coach, but I was on the ice every day of practice. I was doing pre-scouts. I was doing one-on-one video with guys. I was doing skill work with players on the ice. It was more than just like sitting behind a laptop. And so, and then, like I said, I worked with great staff. Brandon Mashinter is now the head coach in Jacksonville. Like Nick Luco is an assistant coach in the American League.
Right.
You learn from people like that. You get to take a step back and do your job, but also like watch how other people do it. And you take a lot of the good, and you take some of the things like, oh yeah, I still think my way's better, but a lot of it's like, I didn't know that before. And you get the kind of, you keep adding clay and molding clay to what you are as a coach and a person, as a professional. And so, and then that's kind of what, just in the short, I've been down here 2 weeks in Huntsville and sitting in the office every day with Stu and Ty. We're preparing for training camp. We're bouncing ideas off each other. And, I'm bringing things to them that they've never seen or heard of. And Stu's explaining some things to me that are new to me. And it's a constant evolution. And that's what coaching is. It's constant growth and evolution. And, with the ultimate goal of like making the players better, making the organization better, winning championships, but like you're also making yourself better too.
Right. And that's, I think a lot of people forget that we see the coaches and the players out there, but there's this whole growth process that all of you are going on, and your growth process from one season to the next is different. It's bigger, it's better. You learn from that, everything. I'm interested in your healthcare background. You said you were a flight critical care paramedic.
I was a critical care flight paramedic so I started working in emergency medicine in 2005 as an EMT. I became a paramedic in late 2008, and I became a critical care flight paramedic in 2011. And then I did that. And I still technically am today. Like I have my license, and I haven't flown or anything like that since 2022. But like I still have moonlighted in ERs and stuff like that. Like I kind of stay connected to it just to keep my life. You work so hard. Like people don't realize how hard it is. Like paramedic school and clinical. Yeah. You do all that stuff. Like I'll never get my licenses up. For the sacrifice I've done to get to that point. But no, I did. I mean, I did a lot of cool things with it. I've worked. One of the little perks, you get to work a lot of sporting events, a lot of concerts. You meet, when you do that stuff, you obviously meet famous people, and like, especially the country, like a lot of the concerts I worked, and I did some, worked at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway back home for a while, and you meet the drivers and stuff like that. So but now you get to a point, you see a lot, and it's like I said, COVID opened your eyes. Like for COVID, from mid-February 2020 to November of 2020, I worked on a COVID response unit where all I did was pick up sick COVID patients around Indiana, Southern Michigan, Western Ohio, Eastern Illinois, Northern Missouri, and we would bring them back to or Northern Kentucky, I beg your pardon, and bring them back to Indianapolis to our main hospital, like when they were sick, because there's a lot of those, like in the Midwest, like similar to Alabama, you have those really rural areas that don't, they need to come to Huntsville or Birmingham, like they need to come to Indianapolis or Fort Wayne for better care. So we would literally, that's what I did, 14, 16 hours a day, 6-7 days a week, and I tell people I made a ton of money that year, overtime, all that stuff. You didn't get to spend any, like you didn't get to enjoy any of it. Like it was, and it was really taxing on my body. Like I had a lot of, it caused health issues with me. Like I gained a lot of weight and had some, and like I said, early 2022, had a little bit of a health scare. I had a couple of close calls at work, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't for me. Like I need to go chase kind of like what I want to do. And it's scary because like you're in your 40s, you're married, you have kids, you're walking away from total stability, like employment stability, to jump into this unknown of like the hockey coaching, and like it's unstable and it's volatile. It can be volatile at times, but like you kind of find that path and that passion and you go for it. But yeah, like
I think though for you it may have been not necessarily easier, but more of a smoother transition because you've been around the hockey world before. It wasn't like you were running into a new dream of, I think I want to be a hockey coach, and you've never played. You had that background too.
Yeah, it was an easier transition in that sense, like of like I've been connected to the game, but yeah, it's that unknown of like, okay, now I got to go find a coaching job.
You got to go find a job. Yeah, that stability is gone.
You got to do all that stuff, and then like I said, it's a volatile world, and I experienced a lot of that, and and I was thinking like this summer, like when I made the decision not to like go, like in the spring when I made the decision to not go back to Jackson and kind of try to pursue some other opportunities, it was, I want to make sure I'm in a good spot. Like, I guess you don't go through what we went through in Vermilion and be like, okay, I'm going to go jump into another dumpster. Like, I'm done with the dumpster fires. I'm done with the rebuilds. I'm done with the, I want to go in there where like, it's stable, it's good, and like I said, there's no better, and in this league, there's no better place to be than Huntsville. And like I said, because it has all that, it has great ownership, great fan base, great facilities. There's from the top down, the management support, everything's here. Like you just have to come in and work hard, do your job. Mm-hmm. Right? And when you're in an environment like that, it's really easy to work. And like I said, just in the short time I've been in the office, like Stu, Ty, and I, we get along well. We bounce things off each other. It's just really good. And I'm excited to get the season started. And keep that process going. Like I said, just hopefully get across the finish line this year. Keep the president, bring the presidents to come back here.
So, you were a video coordinator. You did other things with Jacksonville last year. And now you're coming on as kind of an assistant coach, but a video coach. So explain to some of us how that works, what that process looks like. What are you doing before the games, during the games? Like, what is your role going to be?
So during the week, it's, we're a small staff. There's 3 of us in here. It's Stu, Ty, and I. So like it's, during the week of practice, I'll be on the ice every day practice, helping with practice planning, whatever, like just every day, like that day to day, the pre-scouts of your next opponents, all that stuff, Monday through Thursday, like on a normal Friday, Saturday work week, game the week, just basically helping, like we're all kind of, taking our spots, like, for example, like Stu does the 5-on-5, Ty does the special teams, I'm going to do all the face-offs and the pre-scouts and stuff like, like we all going to have our hands in it, but there's overlap. Like we're going to, hey, I saw this, like Ty, doing his penalty kill presentation. I gave him some of the stuff we did from Jacksonville last year, like this morning I'm doing part of my controlled breakout stuff. I'm asking like, hey, as I'm putting a presentation together, how much of this should I put into the presentation, because like they've been here, like I'm the new guy. So I just want to make sure you kind of, fit in with what what they want. Ty's been here a while with Stu. And so, and then on game day, like my workflow is like, and we're still kind of working through that because like, see in the ECHO, when you're a video coach, all the buildings are wired for video. You literally just come in, plug your laptop in, the feed comes right to your computer. It's not the way it is in the SPHL. So like, we're trying to figure that out, like how we do this, because it's basically Wi-Fi dependent, in the buildings. So we're going to have to hook 2 laptops in. One game will stream the game. One laptop will stream it. The other laptop will capture it. But some of these buildings, like you go to Birmingham, you go to Pensacola, the Wi-Fi is not very good. So we're probably not going to be able to do that. Whereas we have an option with our video, we have software that like we do all the video work, and it's called Naxport. We have an option called tagging without video. So like I'll tag the game, and then when we upload the video, you sync the tagging with the video clips that you've already clipped that just don't have a video. You have to link the 2 together.
Yeah.
I'll do that for 2 periods. Like, so the first 2 periods I'll be here, like for example, home game, I'll be in the office here, and we'll have the 2 laptops and we'll tag without.
And you'll be praying that none of the Wi-Fi fails and all of that.
Hopefully the Wi-Fi doesn't go down. And then the 3rd period, I'm actually going to come on the bench, be behind the bench. And we'll still capture the game, and then after the game, I'll tag the 3rd period. The reason being in the first 2 periods, there might be some stuff during the game where that happens. I'll have the clips already pulled up for when Stu and Ty come in, and then in the 3rd period, like the game's probably going to end, or you don't have enough time between overtime to go look at video, so you just, like I'll be on the bench helping out whatever Stu needs, whatever they need on the bench, but helping with being an extra set of eyes on the bench, whatever that entails, and then come in post game, finish the video side of it, and go from there.
We'll be back with more of the Reekin Havoc podcast. My name is Joel, and I came to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in December of 1987 to be treated for osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. We didn't know anything about St. Jude. We didn't know what they meant, or that, when we got here, what we would do, how it would be taken care of. And when we arrived, we found out that my family wasn't going to have to pay for any of my treatment, not for my medicine, not for travel, not for housing, not for food. St. Jude was going to cover all that. St. Jude supported me in every way, from, taking that financial burden off my parents to making sure that all of my family was included in this time. St. Jude literally means everything to me. I get to go home to my family tonight. I get to cook dinner for them. That's what you're giving. You are giving us everything by supporting St. Jude. So thank you so much.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
This is Glenn Tulio, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc podcast.
Do the players come in and watch film like they do in other sports like that? Do y'all come in for like a meeting and y'all rewatch stuff like that?
Some, like, a lot of times what happens in a game, like even in Jacksonville last year, like I would tag stuff because I'm watching the game. So like I can see a play and like highlight a clip and pull it aside. And then, so last year when my boss would come in, I'd be like, hey, Luke's, I pulled these 7 clips that I saw in the period. And he'd skim through them, like, and that's saying the software is all set up. You can just like move, from situation to situation. It's like called a matrix. You can pull the matrix up, okay, breakouts, but we call them head coach clips. So I would hit and everything's done on a hotkey on the computer. So like the number 5 is our hotkey for the head coach. I would hit number 5 as that clip developed and hit it again to close that clip out. And so then he could come in and pull the head coach clips that I tagged during the game. He'll go into the matrix and pull those clips and then say, okay. And then sometimes if it's, especially if you give up a goal, like it's an obvious one, you can pull up the goals against and play it out. And then if it was a power play, we'd bring the penalty kill unit in, or if we were struggling the power play, we could bring the power play unit and say, hey, try to exploit this. It's real quick. You only have 18 minutes. And you give the guys the first 3 or 4 minutes to themselves, in the room, but then you have that 3 or 4 minute window of like pulling guys in before Stu would go. And I think I've never coached with Stu, so I don't like this going off in Jacks last year. We always went in at the 10-minute mark.
Yeah.
To kind of address the team, whatever. So you had that 8 minutes to kind of get stuff organized, 6-8 minutes to get stuff organized. If you wanted to pull clips, show clips, guys, then you go 10 minutes, and then basically 5 minutes, you're heading back out to the, heading back to the bench, and the player, you want to give the players as much time to themselves to decompress, and kind of refocus and get their energy back.
Is this something we've been doing with the Havoc, or is it brand new?
I've never had one before.
Okay, so we're brand new, throwing something new in. It's all the pressure again is on you, so no pressure by any means.
No, it's fine. Yeah. We talked, Stu and I talked about today, and then Glenn's been involved with the conversations. It's just, the exhibition game when we go to Knoxville in a couple weeks is going to be huge. That's going to show us a lot. It was like just the workflow and, and it's kind of good because like it's an exhibition game. There's no like you win, you lose, or like whatever. We make mistakes. Like we're going to be able to learn. We're going to learn a ton from that.
Yeah.
And figure out,
So how does this up the Havoc game? How does this just increase more of what we're doing as a standard?
We're the only team in the league that has one. So it's, to my knowledge, I mean, I know some other teams have like assisting, but to my knowledge, we're the only team that does the video side of it this way. And it's an extra set of eyes, 3 sets of eyes are better than 2. And it lightens the work when you're a 2-person staff. Like, and I've been through this before. Like when I was in Vermilion, I was by myself. Mm-hmm. And so Stu and I were talking Friday, like, the work doesn't do itself. The games don't clip themselves. Like, we do these presentations and the players see 12, 15 clips. They don't see the 3 to 5 hours worth of work that went into that. Before, like, you literally during a game, you can have 600 clips. Mm-hmm. Now you can organize it all through the matrix. Okay, I want to look at all our breakouts. I want to look at all our neutral zone 4 checks and everything. But you still have to watch all those. Same thing when you pre-scout an opponent. They'll see a 20-clip pre-scout, realizing we watched probably 1,500 clips of our opponent, and we got it down to that 20. We felt we're the best 20. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of Monday through Thursday work. You're coming in 6 a.m. in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and you're doing that work before practice, and you're doing that work after practice. And it's, so it helps to have it. It helps us, in the sense of it lightens everybody's workload, but it gives you kind of an advantage in the sense of like, there's only so many hours in a day. Like last year, Stu and Ty, their days. So like I said, they're able to lighten their workload. Stu's able to delegate responsibility to me. I've done it before, not only done it before, but also done it at a higher level. So it's like I have experience with the pre-scout side of it. I have experience with the in-game video side of it, but also I've been on a bench as a head coach. So like it gets in that third coach on the bench as well. Like it's just, you can have too many cooks in the kitchen but three is like a good number. And
Three's a good number. No more than three.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even at the higher levels, like you see in the ECHL, we always had two, like you'd have a head coach and two assistants on the bench. At the American League level, it's 1 and 2, sometimes 1 and 3. At the NHL level, sometimes it's more often not, like you have 3, 4 assistant coaches, like because first off, it's financial resources as well, right. So it's but it helps us in a sense of like we're going to be able to put more time, more effort, more resources into not only, pre-scouting our opponent, but just our players here, like on the ice. I can stay on after practice and do skill work with players. Yeah. I can get on early, go work with goalies, whatever it is. There's just more of us here to help. And like I said, we're developmentally, you're trying to, so there are players here who want to get to the ECHL. And, part of my experience, I've been there. Like I spent all year there with one of the best teams in the league. Like I know what it takes. I've seen what that is. I can help with that knowledge aspect of like when a player says, hey, I want to play in ECHL. Okay, well, here's what they're doing here. Here's what, we were affiliated with Buffalo and Rochester last year. So like we had a direct line to them and like their player development people. Huge learning experience for me as a coach too. Like I learned so much from that I can bring here to the staff and to the players as well.
So will there have to be any new, I guess, video rewiring, any of that kind of stuff at the Von Braun, or y'all just going to kind of sink in?
We're just going to kind of do it how it's set up. I mean, like I said, it's not a league required thing. So the VB's like, and I wouldn't even like, that's so far above. Like, I'm like video savvy, tech savvy. I'm not like,
but you're not like that.
I'm not sound control tech savvy while video, like through a building. Like that's engineering and I'm not that. So
I get you. Okay, if this, I'm going to make a note at this mark for him to do a commercial. If it ends, I will resend you a link and just get back on since I've made up our 40 minutes. Okay, I've got just a couple more things to chat with you about. One, I'm just curious, you're going to be on in the third period, kind of as an assistant coach looking and stuff. So what do you feel when you're not doing video? What do you feel is your strong suit as a coach? Like, what do you feel like you're going to be very instrumental in being able to help with coaching wise?
I'm very detail oriented. I was that way before I became a coach. Like in healthcare, you have to be detail oriented. People's lives depend on it. And I've kind of brought that, to the coaching side of it. And I feel having been at a higher level, it was funny when I was in Vermilion County, you guys were like, oh, I want to play in the ECHL. And you'd watch a guy, like, I think that guy can do it. And then you get to the ECHL and you're like, man, that guy wasn't as close as I thought he was. Because you see what ECHL players do. And same thing. We'd have conversations with guys up in the American League, the coaching staff. Oh, his details aren't good enough, and you're like, man, I thought his details were pretty good. And then you realize you go watch an American League game, and you're like, man, like yeah. So I think for me, it's I'm very detail oriented, very well. I'm very good at communicating. Like very very direct, but understanding what's needed to be done. Again, it's falls back on my healthcare background. Like, yeah, I mean, you're taking care of people. You have to communicate, what's going on and what's being done. I think from a head coach or assistant coach to a player standpoint, getting my expectations across, what we need to get done, but also just, I have a really good vision of what's going on the ice. I see a lot of little things, a lot of small things that I think get overlooked a lot. And I think that helps not just Stu and Ty and myself, but it helps the players too. And I think the final thing is I'm a good listener. Like I listen to the players are ultimately playing the game. So when players bring you stuff to the bench, I'm very good at listening to that and then taking that into account of how we're trying to, help them develop as well.
And what has kind of surprised you the most about Ty and Stu? I mean, you're in the room, you guys are getting ready. I don't have everybody back on the ice, so we're not out there coaching, I can see it. But what so far has really surprised you about the two of them, how they work together and kind of where you feel like you're going to be able to fit in with that?
I don't think anything's surprised me in a sense. Cause like I said, I think Stu and I had a lot of conversation before then. I think that what it is I didn't know Ty at all. And it's like, so you come in here and it's just, everyone's been very, welcoming, very receiving. been welcoming, and they've received me very well. And it's a super chill, laid back atmosphere in here. Like, we laugh, we joke around, but we get our stuff done. Like there's an attention to detail in this office where, we have our checklist like right here, and like we just keep marking things off. Like and it goes down to like Kyle and Cody as well. Like we all have a checklist, and we're just kind of getting our stuff done before camp, and, as players are coming in, we're just, so nothing's really surprised me. I think it's just the thing that for me is like, as coming as a new guy, it's been very welcoming and very easy,
And what are you looking forward to most when those players get here? Do you know some of them? Have you met any of them yet? Is this all new?
Yeah, I met Dom and Gio, and I met Posa today. I've watched. See, it's funny because working in junior hockey, I remember all them as teenagers. Like, so like now you see them, they're men, they're professionals. Like Dom just got married this summer, and you see that side of it. So I remember watching them as junior hockey players and watching them like, I remember when like, Posa committed to play at Lake State. You remember those things. They were teenagers and they were 20 years old, and now they're professionals. And I think the thing that what I'm excited to do is, to, like I said, take my experience from a higher level and help these guys get better every day. I mean, that's ultimately when you're coaching, you want to make these guys not, better players, better men, better human beings. And that, to me, that's why you do it. That's why I do it, at least. And, I think that's kind of like what's like as the collectively as a group in the office where, you want to win games, you want to win championships. But the thing I learned a long time ago and having won 3 championships in Fairbanks was if you invest in the player, both on a personal level, not just on ice, but also on a personal level, you'll get more out of them. Mm-hmm. Like they'll play harder for you. Their buy-in is higher, they're deeper, but they'll work hard and they get better as hockey players. And the most rewarding thing for me is even in Vermilion County, for example, like we were the worst team in the league. I had 5 guys go play in the ECHL. Like 2 of them didn't come back, like thank God for them, but like Austin Albrecht got called up to Maine, Adam Eby went to Reading, like those guys didn't come back. And it was really cool to like watch those guys go up there and play at that level. Like last year in Jacks, I did a lot of one-on-one work with guys, and a couple of the guys got called up to the American League. They were on there 2 ways. But we had a couple of rookies that were like in and out of the line at the beginning of the year, and like one of them was our rookie of the year. One of them, one of the defensemen I worked with ended up being, and these were voted on by their peers, their teammates. The other one was our defenseman of the year. And I did a lot of one-on-one work with these guys, one-on-one skill work after practice, one-on-one video work. And when they come up to me at the end of the season, like, hey, I couldn't have done this without you. Like, to me, that's worth every ounce of sacrifice, every second of the time you put into it. That's the most rewarding thing for me. And like, I remember at the end of the year, like, it was bittersweet because we lost and we had a really good chance to make a championship run. But when those guys got those awards and they came up, they sought me out in private and said, hey, I couldn't have done this without you and without your help. Yeah, that was, to me, that's why you do it. And
what a better reminder of switching careers in the middle of everything and trying to follow your dream, that you're actually doing what you want to do, making an impact, changing lives. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Well, Chris, I appreciate you stopping by and chatting real quick with us. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
No, thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. We will probably have you on again. We're always doing some follow-ups with the coaches throughout the year, just to kind of check in and see how it's going. I will be interested to see how this video situation plays out because Wi-Fi sucks everywhere, I've learned. So.
No, it's going to be great. Like even in the games, if like I said, the Wi-Fi crashes, we'll have the ability where we'll tag it. And then again, I'm just that third set of eyes. Even like I said, some of the buildings are not going to be able to do the games like in real time. It's just going to be tagging without video. I'm going to be an eye in the sky for eye. So like I'll be like give them just for perspective as well.
Well, we appreciate that. We're glad to have you. I'm glad that you have found purpose, and thank you for doing what you did in the healthcare field. My husband works as a rescue squad member in our local rescue group, and he's always seeing stuff on the rescue squad side of things with the aeromedics and stuff coming in. So I really appreciate that time that you did as well in serving all of those people that you helped during COVID.
Thank you.
Well, we are looking forward to it. Havoc fans, we hope you enjoyed our quick chat with Chris Blaisuis today. We're ready to have him here as part of the fold. Happy to have him in the pack and looking forward to seeing what you can contribute and do. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yes, and Havoc fans, again, it is almost time for hockey to start. So just keep on trekking along with us and keep checking back into the Reekin Havoc podcast, and we'll have all the things you need to know.
The Reekin Havoc Podcast.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Join us now for Huntsville's Greatest Hits, where current and former players recount their most memorable dropping of the gloves.
Former Havoc center Justin Rohr.
I ended up getting hit from behind in Huntsville my last year, and we got up and had a little I think there was a little 3 or 4 of us. I don't know if maybe the full line brawl or not, but there was 3 or 4 of us guys all jumped in, but I ended up smashing my nose and had to play with a left crooked nose for the rest of the season, and then ended up getting it fixed. Had to go under the knife at the end of the year and have a nose job. So yeah, that was one that does stand out. There's another college one that stands out. That was our last year, and of course you don't fight in college. You're wearing cages in NCAA, and had a goalie slash me. We had a big rivalry against these guys. It was actually a guy I played with in junior in Laurens. So I gave the goalie a little slash back, and he went down and flopped pretty good. And so then they had 2 guys jump me, and we all got our helmets off, and we were going at it, and ended up starting a pretty good line brawl on that one in college. So needless to say, we all got suspended for 3 games on that one.
We'll be back with the Reekin Havoc Podcast.
In June of 2005, our twin girls were delivered, Melissa and Ann Catherine, and they were born 14 weeks early.
Amy and Chris George talk about the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund.
They both weighed less than 2 pounds. Ann Catherine was 115 and Melissa was 1'9". Melissa lived for a couple of hours, but all of the medical technology in the world just could not have saved her, and she passed away while she was in the NICU. Chris realized pretty early that God had given us a platform that we could use to try to help people. So Chris and I started the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund at Huntsville Hospital.
To know that Melissa's name is living on, her legacy continues. And I think that was very important to Amy and I, is why the fund is named after her. Because for 7 weeks, Melissa fought so that Ann Catherine would have a chance to live. And I think that we wouldn't be doing her name any justice if we didn't carry on, because we know we wanted to honor her and honor her legacy. And the community, Huntsville Havoc, the community in Huntsville itself, they've rallied around that. And it's been a wonderful support system for us. And I think for a lot of families too, when they see total strangers that are giving.
We're online at HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org. Click on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, and you can give that way.
There's no donation that's too small, and every dollar is just as important as the next one. And if you're giving, then we understand you're giving because you care. And that's what's important, is that we've learned over the years that people give because they care.
And you can volunteer. If you're interested in that, you can click on the volunteer tab to fill out an application. We are grateful for any type of support, because we know that once we pull those dollars together, we can do big things.
For more information on the Melissa George Neonatal Memorial Fund, visit HuntsvilleHospitalFoundation.org.
Hey, this is Kevin Janot, and you're listening to the Reekin Havoc Podcast.
Forward Robbie Fisher has re-signed with the team. Fisher hails from Kenora, Ontario, and will begin his 4th season with the Havoc. He set career highs last year with 17 goals and 26 points. He's played 157 games in Huntsville, totaling 64 points, consisting of 35 goals and 29 assists. Defenseman Charlie Bedard has also signed on for the year. The Southampton, New York native was previously with the Vermilion County Bobcats and Fayetteville Marksmen. Havoc tickets are on sale right now at the Huntsville Costco. You can get 4 for $49.99. Game day fan experiences are also available. You can sit on the bench during warm-ups before heading to the players' tunnel to send the team to the locker room while receiving a commemorative badge and a game-specific puck. Also take a post-game slap shot on the ice and get a commemorative badge, or have your group or birthday message displayed on the new video boards inside Probst Arena. More experiences will be announced as we get closer to the season as well. For more information, go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com under Fan Zone and click on Fan Experiences. The annual Meet the Team party will be October 21st from 5 till 7 p.m. for both season ticket holders and the general public. In addition to meeting the team, season ticket holders can pick up their gifts. There will be a backstage tour of the VBC. You'll get a preview of the recently installed giant video boards, and there will be complimentary food. Go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com to RSVP. The first annual School Day Showcase will be Wednesday, February 26th. It's an inter-squad game and skills competition starting at 10:30 a.m., incorporating educational elements to provide a unique learning experience for students. Tickets are $15 and include a free ticket to any home game in March, with the exception of the 29th, with 2 free tickets per class for teachers and or chaperones. For more information, go online to HuntsvilleHavoc.com and click on School Day Showcase.
If you love the Huntsville Havoc, leave us a voicemail with your name, how long you've been a fan, and even some of your favorite players. Call 256-434-RKKN. That's 256-434-7556.
The Reekin Havoc Podcast.
For those returning from military service, the transition back to civilian life isn't always easy. Retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Bill Cook talks about still serving veterans.
The mission of still serving veterans is to serve and honor veterans and their families by empowering them to build meaningful lives. And we do that through connecting to fulfilling careers, getting the benefits they deserve, or the services that they need. We have never charged anybody anything for our services. A group of business leaders in town felt there was a need to help the seriously wounded make that transition back into civilian life. Employment services, VA benefits, and connections to other community services. That's what we do. If you're a veteran and you need help, please get a hold of us. Go to that website, ssv.org, and you can find out pretty much anything you need to know about still serving veterans.
In Huntsville, call 256-883-7035.
For tickets, official Huntsville Havoc merchandise, and more, go to HuntsvilleHavoc.com. Visit our website at ReekinHavoc.com. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Threads. And listen, follow, and subscribe to the Reekin Havoc Podcast on your favorite platform to keep up with the only weekly podcast covering the Huntsville Havoc, the Reekin Havoc Podcast.